everyone, welcome in or welcome back. Today we're going to be working on another Itabag. So our subject of the bag today is going to be Hyuna and Luka from Alien Stage. Please pardon my pronunciation of things as we go along, but as of a couple days ago, the third anniversary remix drops came out. So I put this up on my priority to get this filmed and done while my feelings are so strong. It is so good. Let's go through our usual bouts where we'll take a look at the bag and then all of the individual pieces of merch that I plan to include, and then finally we'll go through and put the bag together. So this is the bag that I chose today, and it is a smaller sized faux leather bag with a chain here in the front. I felt like this sort of sleek and kind of modern look would kind of suit the characters really well. A lot of my bags tend to be like very cutesy, so I thought this would be kind of a fun way to change it up and sort of match the vibes for the characters a little bit more. This bag also does come with an insert, which is nice, and this bag I got secondhand off of Japanese Mercari. For the insert, I have this yellow kind of plaid fabric. I originally bought this for a different character. I have not put that bag yet, but I do have about a meter's worth, so I do have more than enough to do this one as well. Now, as for our merch pieces, I have a little bit of a mix of both official merch as well as some fan merch, so we'll go through all of those, and of course I will also have credit for the fan merch that I'm using today as well. To cover them, I think we'll start with going over the fan merch first, since there are fewer pieces of them. All of these merch pieces I got at a local con when it was happening, but I believe most of these artists also have an online shop, although they may be closed at the moment since we're out of con season. The first keychain is a high school AU Hyuna and Luka, and I like this one because I feel like they're just so soft and squishy looking, but I love that he has all the little love letters in his hands, like that they gave him glasses, and Hyuna's little updo is so sweet. So I thought this one was so cute, and they had versions for each of the pairings too, but of course I had to get my favorite. And this one is made by Linny.len. These two I thought were so beautiful. The art style is just really stunning. These are a pair of epoxy acrylic charms, and their art style is just so lovely and it fits the characters so well. The floral backgrounds that are also translucent are also really, really pretty, and I just love their art style. And this one is done by Jelly Mooney. The last piece of fan merch I have is this little CD case that is an acrylic charm, and it does also open up so that we can get a very clear view of the little chibi art inside. And what is also very cool about this one is that there is an NFC tag inside, and it opens up Hyuna's version of Ruler of My Heart. So I thought that was so cool. This one was a must-have for me when I was looking at the merch booths. This whole idea was so awesome. I also originally wasn't sure if it was going to link to the original cover or Hyuna's, and I love that it links to Hyuna's because she is my favorite. And this one is made by Comfy Tofu. So all of the links for the fan artists will also be linked in the description, so please do take a look at their shop if any of those pieces interested you. So with the fan merch covered, we'll go ahead and move on to the official pieces. First pieces of merch to share are these two little blind box plushies, and they are in alternate outfits as opposed to their defaults. I like the size of these plushies. I feel like with the size of the bag, I think it's going to complement nicely and not take over too much space or be too overwhelming to the bag and the insert. Isn't it also silly how far down his v-neck goes? And then I do have the pair of chibi blind bag tin badges, and I like that in this one they look so small and chewy. And then these ones I believe are also kind of like a default art blind bag tin badge that was available, so I have the matching pair for them. Then there are these two clear acrylic charms. I like that they're facing each other in this one. Very, very cute. I believe most of their merch sets are blind bag, but I do love the art style in this one too. Very vivid, the colors are soft, but also still kind of saturated. Very pretty. And then finally, I have the matching pair of butler and maid ones. I also love the way that Hyuna looks in this one so much. I think she is so pretty. And of course, Luka looks very dashing. I loved the art that was featured in this one, so I knew I had to get the matching set. I think we have a pretty good little array of merch to work with, so let me go ahead and start getting things ready. We're going to start with cutting out our fabric to size, and then I'm going to use safety pins to adhere it to the back side. So I lay the insert over top and give a little bit of a border so that we can wrap it around it, and then just get to cutting. You can also use double-sided tape to keep your insert in line, but I like using safety pins. I'm still getting over a cold a little bit, but I'm gonna do my best to make sure the sniffles and stuff aren't too invasive. So now I have them safety pinned into place. I'm just gonna use a bit of double-sided tape just to keep the edges nice and tidy, or I guess as tidy as I can get them given how sloppy I did on the back. Now we have our little insert wrapped up in our colored fabric. Not totally like straight, but it's fine. The next thing I want to do is add a lace trim to the top and bottom. So this is two different kinds of lace that I've stuck together, and that should be pretty cute on the top and bottom. You might notice that it is already cut to size, and that's because this is the second time that I'm actually doing this video. I did the first round and then realized I didn't like the way that I had laid it out. And not only that, but I accidentally did it on the wrong settings on my computer, so the quality of the video was quite horrible. So I decided just to redo the whole thing. But I still liked the way this looked in the first go, so I'm going to keep it and we're gonna do it again this time. So just to account for this lip here, we're going to be putting our lace just a little bit lower on the insert. I think about one of these squares should be enough. And then once I have it attached on both sides, I'm going to use some double-sided tape to keep it secured to where I want on the front of the bag. Okay, so then I think we're going to do another round of it on the bottom side. I had stocked up on like a ton of ribbon and all sorts of fun little decorations, so I'm quite excited to be able to incorporate those now. Now I have the top and bottom borders put in, so I'm gonna quickly test it with the bag just to make sure that it fits and looks nice, and see if there's any adjustments that I need to make after. I do like the contrast of the pastels inside the dark faux leather bag, so that's pretty cute. But I think we're at a pretty good spot to start sticking merch on top of our insert. We're gonna start laying out our merch now. I think the way I want to do this, because I have a lot of parallel pieces of merch, like matching merch, I'm gonna make one side mostly focused on the Hyuna pieces and the other side mostly focused on the Luka pieces. I'm just gonna start laying things out so I can get an idea of what I want. And since all of these pieces are kind of square, I think it'll look kind of nice like this. Kind of like this being underneath because it kind of makes a triangle with the brighter colored pieces. I really want to put these two in a more focal spot because I really like them. So I think we're going to put them kind of nestled away into this corner. Maybe, I think kind of like that is kind of the layout I'm thinking. I kind of like that layout. Then we can put a little bit of filler just in the sides. Maybe just some bows or something. Now for acrylic charms, I usually like to sew them into place, and that usually keeps them pretty good. I just worry a little bit that the insert might be a little bit too thick, but we'll give it a shot and see how it holds up. Now I can get into a bit of my yapping time. If you haven't heard of Alien Stage before, it is this multi-part series in the form of both art, comics, and primarily songs. As a means to share the story, which I think is so cool to have all kinds of mixed media as their storytelling platform. And the songs are really good, so I became aware of it a little while ago and then was kind of like, oh, that's cool, like I'll get into it eventually. And there is a really great document that details like the order that everything was released in, the extra interviews for the characters and all that kind of stuff. Like a couple months ago, I just went down the rabbit hole and like binged through all the content in a night. And it's not particularly long either. You can probably get through everything like within a couple hours, depending if you're like looking at the song lyrics and everything, or if you're just watching the music videos. It is not a super long story to get into. And so I wasn't doing much one night and then decided to hop on into it, and I was really, really impressed by how good it was. Each animation was like so beautifully done. The character designs were just lovely, and the singers too were just all so talented, and I was really, really impressed. As much as the technical aspects and the creative elements of it were really well done, like the world that they were introducing was also just phenomenally interesting, and I was really just like really quite impressed by the project as a whole. When I was in my younger years, I loved Vocaloid projects that kind of did the same thing. So, you know, Servant of Evil and Kagero Days. I was a big fan of Kagero Days or Kagero Project. and Shuen no Shiori. Like, I loved that kind of stuff that used music videos and songs as their storytelling method. I thought it was so interesting, and I hadn't seen something do that in a while, so it was really cool to explore what Alien Stage had to offer and the way that they were introducing this whole world through the comics and the songs. And not only that, but each of the character dynamics were also really fascinating. So as a word of warning, like, not all of the stuff is like super family friendly. A lot of the relationship dynamics are fairly toxic, but I was so fascinated by this exploration of children and relationships that were contingent on a set of humanity that had no relationship to our current contemporary standards, and yet all of them were having some form of way that they were learning how to express their relationships with each other, even if not in the healthiest of ways. Just like this constant pursuit of love in such an interesting setting was something that definitely caught my interest. And so, despite having gotten into the series because I had originally seen some merch of Mizi and was like really enamored by her design, I thought she was so pretty, which I guess kind of follows alongside the story archetype that she presents. I was like really amazed with the Ivan and Till songs in particular. Black Sorrow and Cure were just so good. But then it ended up being Hyuna and Luka, whose dynamic definitely clicked the most for me. This whole healing journey, Hyuna in particular, where she is fighting with her own emotions over not being able to condemn the person that did such a traumatic things to her, because at the end of the day, she did love and still does love and care for him. I thought that was so tragically beautiful, and that as someone who has a history of acting based on her emotions more than anything, when she was put in the position to protect him again, the fact that she always chose him, even despite their time away from each other, like, I loved everything about their dynamic. And it definitely isn't the most healthy, and of course, as I prefaced, like, a lot of these relationships are fairly toxic, but when it comes to that stuff, I always provide the disclaimer that, you know, even if someone is into something that is not necessarily up your alley, like, just be mindful and considerate, and basically just talk respectfully of it. I know the content can definitely be uncomfortable for people in this series, so, you know, cater your space and be kind to the people that you're coming across is pretty much what I'm asking for. As a whole, like, I just really loved their dynamic, and how whenever they sing in duet, then it becomes so soft, both of them who usually have such strong voices, that they harmonize and become so gentle with each other. So I ended up, like, falling in love with the dynamics presented by them, and their mainline duet song definitely ended up becoming my favorite song out of the series, just for how beautiful it is. Like, it is such a gorgeous song, sang with such understanding and respect of each other, and like a mutual hope for what could have been if they were in different positions in different worlds. So I loved that wish for better. But that said, like, as much as I am shilling their dynamic in particular, both Ivan, Till, Mizi, Sila, like, all of them just had really fantastic dynamics that I think is worth mentioning. The explorations of codependent love, of miscommunicated love, all of those ideas were just so well done, and there's just so much to think about with these characters that brain rot definitely hit. And it's also just really fun to see the way that other people have resonated with the songs and thought about the songs and analyzed them, especially with the cover songs where each one represents something different of the character, despite singing the same song as another. Like, there are inflections in them, the way that they can be applied to them, like, all that stuff is just so well thought out. So if you are someone who has listened to them, I would love to hear your thoughts on which pairing you like, or which characters you like, what songs you enjoyed. I've been seeing other people working on their Itabags, in particular for Mizisua and Ivan and Till. So I hope you guys enjoy what I'm putting together today. I think because this one has the little ball chain loop on the corner, I think I'm actually going to use some glue dots to keep this one in place. And then I'll sew in the little disc guy as well. All these merch pieces did come with, like, ball chains and clasps and stuff. I just personally find it easier to work on an Itabag when they don't have those. They can take up a lot of room and be kind of clunky, so I prefer to remove all of them and then sew the acrylic charms into Although, as someone who's been like following these sort of manufacturers for a long time, it's pretty awesome to see how many new options they have. Like the bow and everything is like so cool. I think it would be cool to make another Itabag with my own OCs and stuff at some point. I really enjoyed doing the other one, and it also makes me happy that other people have been enjoying it and taking inspiration to do Itabags for their own characters. It's awesome. Celebrate the stuff that you're making. That stuff is freaking awesome. So I'm putting glue dots on the back. The other thing that's kind of interesting about seeing Alien Stage get so popular is that it's definitely amassed like a pretty sizable amount of a younger audience, which I'm not saying is like necessarily like a good or a bad thing. It's just like something that happens. And just sort of seeing how like fandom culture and such has changed so much within the last like decade or whatever. I don't really like participate in fandom spaces as much as I used to, mostly just on account of like being old and not really having a whole ton of time anymore. I'm also not on Twitter anymore, so that definitely contributes. Just sort of seeing how like fandom spaces kind of hold themselves now and everything is kind of interesting. I think it's just sort of different than what it used to be. But that said, I was a Tumblr roleplay kind of fandom space person, so maybe my experiences are also a little bit different than someone who's just browsing. In some ways, I think it is a little bit lonely that those sort of fan spaces maybe don't really exist the way that they used to. Although that could very much be like a product of my own making where like I'm just not really participating in that kind of stuff, so I don't see it as much. But outside of social media, I wonder what kind of spaces for creativity and such actually still exist. Do I sound like a boomer when I talk like that, though? It's a bit snug, but it does fit. Next, we're sewing this one, and that should be the last thing that I have to sew in. Anyway, that was kind of a bit of a long tangent away from Alien Stage. As a whole, as much as I do enjoy putting Itabags together, or rather one time someone was complimenting and they said Oshi bag. I'd never had someone call it that before. That was kind of cool. I think that's like, I suppose that's another term for it. As I was saying though, I tend to only really take mine out if I know I'm going somewhere where they're not going to be like super jangled and messed up, unless it's like a con. Besides that, on the day-to-day, I'm kind of curious, like, do people often use the single character bags for their day-to-day bag? The ones that I tend to see in public usually are multi-fandom, which I think makes sense to me. That's like a little bit more casual than like, look at the singular character or pairing or whatever that I'm like absolutely obsessed with. That said, like all of my stuff is single character or one single ship, so you know I'm not gonna judge that much if that's what people are bringing around. But I think it would be cool to see how people style it more casually. How do you make like bringing one of these around more casual? I don't go out enough really to know, I feel like. I have thought about making like more specific themed ones for if I'm going to specific like hobby places. So if I'm going to the rhythm game arcade, I thought about making a Vocaloid one, though when I go it's usually been like the easier one that I bring with me. All the parts that need to be sewn in are now in. Time to start sneaking badges in there. And I think because I like this badge set so much, I do kind of want to put it like front and center. I do hope and am happy that people are enjoying and taking inspiration from these Itabag videos. Making these makes me really happy. I get to chat about whatever it is that I'm like hyper fixated on for the moment and whatnot, but also these kinds of videos where like I'm kind of just sitting and chatting while I'm doing something gives me a little bit more room to just sort of talk as me. When it comes to like the doll review videos, I try and be very meticulous about like here's every detail of the doll. If I go on too much of a tangent, like I'll end up cutting it out just to keep the video fairly focused. But in this style of thing, I have a lot more room just to kind of chat about whatever. I think that's kind of where I feel the most comfortable is when I'm sort of relaxed and talking about this and that. Sometimes people have commented that they use my videos as white noise while they're working on things, and that makes me very happy. Cute, and it kind of lines up with the maid and butler ones. We'll do that then. But it does make me really happy to be someone's white noise. Like, if people can put my stuff on and determine, okay, I'm either gonna like sit down and work on whatever like alongside her, or I'm gonna sit down and this will just be the yapping that I listen to while I work on stuff, that's kind of all I could hope for. I think it's such an honor to be someone that people can focus up on expressing their creativity. And to me, that's always been like one of the most important things to me as a content creator. Like, that's what I really want. I just want to be a safe place where people feel free to express and engage in their creativity. Okay, that's pretty stinking cute, I feel like. Let's go ahead and try snuggling this into the bag. Okay, that is so cute. I love how it looks in the bag. I think I am gonna go ahead and take this chain that's in the front and make it just attached to one side because it kind of cuts right through this section on the maid and butler pins, and I'm not letting that happen. So now that I have the insert inside, I think we're gonna put the 2 plushies on the section to where the crossbody straps go. And then Luka on the other side. And there they are on both sides. Okay, and there they are. I am really quite happy with how the bag looks. I feel like the contrast of the cute art and bright colors on the inside really contrasts nicely with the black bag. I see why people choose black for a lot of their bases. It is very versatile. I feel like all of the merch just looks so adorable with each other. So I'm really quite happy with how it turned out. Now I do kind of wish that this bag had some sort of latch on the top to keep it shut, but I feel like it should be okay either way. I think it is a really beautiful base, and I think it fits the 2 characters so well, and that kind of consistent theming in their colors with the darker blacks and then pastel yellows. I think it just matches really well. So I think that's everything that I have to share with you guys today. Of course, if you are also an Alien Stage fan, I would love to hear your thoughts on the recent drop of remixes. And if you are not, maybe consider going to listen to some of the songs. Oh, last note, thank you very much for 600 subscribers. Day by day, we're getting a little bit closer to my end of the year goal, which is really exciting, but thank you so much. Hopefully, I can continue making content that you guys will enjoy. Now, I believe that's everything, so please have a lovely, wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time, whether that be in a stream or a video. Bye-bye!